listen on the World Wide Web at WRDT560.com. The materials and information provided are for informational purposes only and are not intended for use as diagnosis, prevention, or treatment of a health or other problem, or as a substitute for consulting a licensed medical professional. Some concepts presented herein may be theoretical and have little or no scientific substantiation. Users are advised to conduct their own diligence.
Welcome to Ask the Experts, where you'll learn about a variety of life-enhancing subjects. Today we delve into holistic healing and whole food nutrition with the Natural Health Authority, Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. And now here's Jason.
Hey everybody, hi, this is Jason Eagle, your Natural Health Authority, and I'm here with another show. Okay, and so if you want to call into the show, this is Jason Eagle, your Natural Health Authority. The number to call in is 313-272-5600. My website is strategichealing.us. You can see me on Facebook Live right now. You can also type some questions in. You can go to that's Strategic Healing. That's the Facebook Live right now. And we'll start off with some questions that we've gotten over the past couple weeks. And then hopefully you guys can call in and give me some new questions too, because I really like hearing from you. So first of all, we had one that came in, and that was about restless leg. People don't know what restless leg syndrome is. Everyone, when you lay down, you tend to kind of move your legs back and forth, and then you kind of settle down, and that's that. Whereas people with restless leg syndrome, you'll hear the spouses talking about, it's like they just can't stop rubbing their legs together. They just can't stop, moving them and shuffling them around and making all kinds of noise. But then you talk to the person who has the restless leg syndrome, and they say, it's as bad sometimes as it's like you have ants, like ants are crawling up and down, or it's just, I can't keep them still. Or some people even say it's involuntary, like I can't control it, like it just happens. My legs just keep moving and moving. And over the years, I've had many people who it literally almost drove them crazy. It's just they are at their wits' end. A number of people have been on some medications, and the medications didn't work. And so let's get into what it really is. Most likely, we're talking, first of all, if we're talking about, it's the nerves. It's blood flow. So what are the things that are involved with the legs? First of all, your legs are the largest muscles in your body. They're huge, man. Your quads and your hamstrings and your calves hold more blood than any other place in your body. They are the largest muscle groups. And so we got a couple different things there. One, which would be cardiovascular. So if we don't have enough oxygen that's going to our legs, and some people say, well, I'm fine when I'm standing, but when I lay down, things change. Well, let's describe a couple things. One, when you're laying down, your whole blood pressure changes. Everything in terms of how your heart pumps your blood changes. And your adrenals are supposed to be something, your adrenals kick in, and they change. And they change what's called vasodilation, which is how much your veins and arteries dilate, where they open up. And then how much they constrict, because the dilation and constriction, the opening up and closing, that's what pumps the blood too, not just your heart. Your heart's not the only pump. You got little mini pumps throughout your whole cardiovascular system, and it's these veins and arteries have muscles in them, and they're supposed to help the blood along. They're also supposed to close things off when they're not supposed to be used, and open things up even wider when you want to really use them. So if we want to say get up and start running, there's triggers, there are adrenal systems, triggers these muscles, these smooth muscle tissue in the legs, and now literally the diameter of the pipes open up so that you can get more fluid through. It's like a bigger hose. But then when you lay down, it's supposed to constrict, meaning you don't have as much activity going on there, so really shouldn't be as much blood flow there. So it starts to pinch off. So sometimes if it's a cardiovascular issue, meaning our blood flow, then we have to kind of deal with blood flow. One, it can be locally, meaning right in the low back, because all the blood flow has to come right through the low back. That's where the nerves have to come through. It's also where the blood flow, the trunk, which is the blood vessels that then branch out and then go from one side to the other side. There's a lot of low back issues that have to do with this, which is a low back injury. Sometimes the low back injuries is turned into what we call an interference field, meaning you've damaged or sedated the normal nerve and energy flow, which is actually, it's a magnetic field. You are electromagnetic beings. When I talk on the show, there's high concepts, and these high concepts are really not that high because they're just the truth, which is you are an electromagnetic being. People that struggle with that and come from a very strict, stodgy Western model kind of go, no, this energy thing, you lost me there. I don't believe it. Well, let me remind you, like, energy is electricity, right? And a battery holds electricity, and electricity is a shock. Well, if you fall down because your heart stopped and we call the paramedic's going to bring those paddles in, and ka-chunk, he's going to shock you with electricity. And then now your electricity starts working. So that tells you right there that you are an electromagnetic being. So the mud packs, what they do is if you've done some damage there where the body didn't, you fell down on your back, or you had a car accident, or you fell on the ice. And I just fell on the ice a couple of weeks ago right on my right butt cheek, and boy, it was sore for a couple of days, and then that jarred my low back. And my low back was jarred, and I had a little bit of numbness going down the left side, which is it affected that left disc. And I went to my chiropractor. I did some of these things that I'm talking to you about, and it's better, and it's 100% better now. But I fell down on the ice a couple times last year, hit the back of my head, and boy, my neck was messed up for quite a while. And but you can fix it. So if it's cardiovascular, again, the mud packs can help to open the blood flow and make the nerves work correctly. Blood flow issues in terms of how do we get good, correct blood flow. There's a number within the herbal world, non-medication world. There's hawthorn berry, so the cardio ND, the cardio ven. These are different types of herbs and nutraceuticals that help to create good blood flow issues. There's also, if we have some blood flow issues, if the legs are kind of wrestly all over the place, sometimes it's because they're starving of oxygen. So like if you start choking a person out, they're going to, like, even if you put a hand over someone's nose while they're sleeping, they're completely sleeping. All of a sudden their body will start twitching, and their body will start trying to and it'll wake them up, and they'll start struggling. Well, sometimes that's what the legs are doing, is the leg muscles are literally struggling because they don't, and so they're requiring you to move them to pump the blood flow, because the blood flow is too stagnant. There's not enough oxygen. So things that are vasodilative help to open, and that would be, like I say, the cardio ND, the cardio ven, deltanol, which is a vitamin E, what's called the delta. There's gamma and delta tocotrienols. Let me take a little side bet here and go off, which is, I've talked a little while ago about what is the good vitamin E. The vitamin E, that the cheap stuff that you can buy, is what's called tocopherols. Tocopherols are in a lot of cereal, and they're in cat food. They're used as a preservative. You'll see it on the label. It says vitamin E added as a preservative. Well, there's two different forms of vitamin E. There's what's called the tocopherol group, and then there's the tocotrienol. The tocopherols are the cheap ones. They're easy to extract, but they break down, and they break down very easily. And when they break down, they turn into free radicals. And why is this important recently? The people that have died from the vaping, people that have had lung problems and died from the vaping, which is this vape stuff that comes from China, they figured out what it is. It is the tocopherols, the vitamin E that they put in as a stabilizer. And what it does is it does free radical damage to the lungs, and it scars up the lungs. And because these vape, first of all, it's very cheap ingredients, and if it comes from China, it's God knows what it is. But they use, like I say, this cheap vitamin E to stabilize it. And you shouldn't be breathing this stuff in your lungs anyways. But that shows you how toxic the wrong type of vitamin E, or even just a vitamin. So a good vitamin, which is the good vitamin E, is the deltanol. That is also, it's very vasodilative. It helps to open up the blood vessels and things like that. So blood flow issues. There's another thing that helps to produce if we don't have enough oxygen and what's called nitric oxide. The fermented beets. This is really big in the exercise world, which is beet powder, or what's called the fermented beets, even more so, because what it does is it takes it and it increases its absorbability, and in fact even increases its nitric oxide levels. So that's going to be for the legs in terms of its cardiovascular. I'm going to take a break here, and we're going to listen to a commercial. I'll be right back, and we'll continue talking about restless legs. Okay, be right back.
How long have you been struggling with your health issues? Are you still living in pain? What kind of skin irritations do you have? Eczema, rashes, acne? Is your energy level in the basement? Are you trying to cope with depression or anxiety? Is your tummy always upset? If your body could talk to you, what would it tell you? Well, it does talk to you. It's the listening part that's tricky. But not with the amazing biocommunication technique, QRA, quantum reflex analysis, the highly effective system by which your body can communicate its true needs. Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing in Auburn Hills is your natural health authority, and he is the expert in using QRA to get to the root of your health issues, then develop the plan to get you back to feeling great again. Find out what's really happening with your body with your in-depth QRA evaluation with Jason Eagle. Call 734-9...
10 seconds.
For your appointment with Jason at Strategic Healing in Auburn Hills. It'll change your life for the better. Call 734-985-5891 today.
Okay, everybody, I'm back. This is Jason Eagle, your Natural Health Authority. The number to call in is 313-272-5600. You can also go to my Facebook page. I'm doing it live right now, and you can, if you're skilled at doing that, and you can go there. It's Strategic Healing, and you can type in your questions there. Going back into restless legs. So we already covered cardiovascular, meaning your blood flow. Let me go into one more thing about the blood flow issues, which is when we talked about in terms of the constriction of the blood. So if your muscles are too tight, now remember I said these leg muscles, the quads, the hamstrings, the what's called the calf muscles are gastrocnemius. These are the largest muscles in the body. They have the most blood flow that's in them. And so if they're tight, they're going to constrict on. And so there's two things that make a muscle work. If you zoom in down into what's called the myofibril, or which is deep in a muscle fiber. It's a bunch of just these fibers that are hooked up together. And it really looks at like a ratchet system, which is when a muscle tightens up, that's contracting. And it's like the ratchets, which is, when you ratchet, the thing goes click, 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 click. And it's these little fingers that like inch it along, and they click into place. And as more of them click on, that's what then shortens the muscle up. Well, what makes them click on, if we zoom into that deep inside of that, it's what's called a calcium ion. And so calcium is what makes the magnetic field of these myofibrils connect, and it makes them hook onto the rail, okay, which then shortens up the whole muscle. Now, it can't be like that forever. And let me remind you, for every action, there's a reaction. So for every contraction of the muscle somewhere else in the body, there has to be another muscle that releases. So for every one that tightens up, you have to have other ones that release. Okay, so a calcium ion makes it connect, but a magnesium ion has to come in order to break that magnetic field, in order to then release it and let go. Magnesium is one of the things that we are extremely deficient in. Most people are very, very deficient because there's not a lot of magnesium in our foods. We don't eat a lot of high magnesium foods. High magnesium foods would be the green vegetables. So like the kale, the collards, especially the green leafy vegetables. Also nuts. So like walnuts, raw walnuts are very high in that. Magnesium. Chocolate. So raw chocolate is very good and high in magnesium. There's a number of other things, but it's hard to get in, and we don't really eat enough of it. So taking a magnesium supplement. For a person who has restless leg, I would say that they should be taking an Epsom salt bath 3 times a week. And in fact, if you really got restless leg, you should do it every day. And I would put 4 pounds of Epsom salt, that's magnesium sulfate, in a bathtub, and you soak there for about 45 minutes. And if we do have a magnesium deficiency, and that's the main cause, which probably about 70% of the time with restless leg syndrome, that's what I see, is that it actually is a magnesium deficiency. The Epsom salt bath is going to really help, and people will go, wow, that was like a miracle. And that helps the reason that it helps so much is because it helps these super tight muscles that are holding on to the blood flow. So now the blood is able to go in and out easy and carry more oxygen and carry the waste products out. Sometimes they are restless leg because there's a buildup of lactic acid. When people say that they feel the ants are crawling or it's burning, that's lactic acid. When a person works out really heavy after not working out for a while, they get that lactic acid burn. Well, you can have people that have very, very tight muscles, especially leg muscles, and it's just full of lactic acid. And they don't notice it when they're moving, but once they stop moving, boy, oh boy, you notice it. So the magnesium will help to pump it out, will help to kind of get it out, especially the magnesium bath. Also, it helps to relax the nerves. It's B vitamins. B vitamins helps with the parasympathetic nervous system and what's called this vasodilation and constriction in these, especially the blood vessels in the legs, well, all over the body. But, the legs are such a huge resource that they really take up a lot of resources, take up a lot of nerve action, and they also take up a lot of blood flow. Now, the real big thing, which is, these are kind of like the things that were taking care of the problem. But what's the real underlying, before it got a problem, how did it become a problem? If we would have gotten to this before it got a problem, then it would have never been a problem. We would never have a magnesium deficiency. We would never have a B vitamin deficiency. That one is essential fatty acids. The fats. We need the fats. We need DHA. And we need to digest it. We need fat metabolism. So probably about 2/3 of the people that have a fatty acid deficiency, which is most everybody, your brain. So people that are struggling with memory problems, it's your brain. And it's the fat of the brain. You're not getting enough fat in your brain. But you can have people that say, I've been doing the olive oil and I've been eating avocados. I'm eating this stuff, but it seems like it's not working. Well, if it doesn't get into the system, then you just because you eat it doesn't go in. So that's where we use the limonene. Limonene and the lecithin, limonene in particular, 2 to 3 drops of this lemon oil, or it's what's called a terpene, and it's in oranges, but it's in hemp, and it's also in lemons, it's in grapefruit, it's in bamboo, it's in this. There's all these different types of what's called terpenes, and limonene is one of this most common one, and it has that common lemon. This one happens to come from an orange, and so it has a real orange flavor, but it's nice. 2 to 3 drops in some water, and anytime you eat anything that's fat, eat your avocados, eat your nuts, eat your fish, eat your meat, eat your coconut oil. You take it with or take your DHA capsules or your fish oil capsules. When you take it with limonene, now it gets into the system because oil and water doesn't mix, and your blood is mostly water, and we need the oil in that water, especially in the blood vessels, to make it slippery and to feed those muscles and all this other stuff, and to just make sure that everything's working correctly. Essential fatty acids are the most important thing. So if you got the problem, these are the things to get out of it, but to head it off at the pass and stop it from happening. And from it's a canary in the coal mine. Restless leg syndrome, any of these pain symptoms and things like that. A symptom is not your problem. It is pointing out the problem. It is Lassie coming up to you going, bark, 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 bark. And you go, what is it, Lassie? And you follow it, and somebody's stuck in the well. And the symptom, which is Lassie, led you to it. And that's really a better way to look at it, because people want symptoms to go away. But the problem is just like the kid that cried wolf, or Lassie, which is, what happens if the kid that cried wolf comes back full of scratches, and, you're used to discounting him. This time he really got hurt, and so that means there really is something there. And so, but we need to adjust our minds to be able to kind of go, yes, I do want it to go. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can make the symptom go away. But if you take the perspective of, what are you telling me? What does it mean? It's just not that there's something wrong with my body. It's not just that it's age. It's not just I got hurt. There's something going on. And it's all these nutrients and our emotions and all of these things. And so listen to me and I'll help you to get to the bottom of it. And, if you really want to, because this is complicated and I really know my stuff, but, if you want to really get the benefit of harvesting this knowledge and letting me help you, you can come into my office. And I can do the testing on you, and then I can sit and listen to you, and I can start putting 2 and 2 together. I've been doing this for a long time, and do it naturally. I can take what your doctors have been doing with you and say, let's work with them and see if we can legitimately make these medications go away or reduce them safely with their permission. But also, it's not like we're doing anything against, we'll work with them so that they can go, wow, yeah, your numbers were here. That's why I put you on 50 milligrams of that. But now your numbers are here. Well done. Yes, I do think we should reduce that one. Yes, maybe it's a good idea to get off of this one. Even the heart doctors will say, most of this heart medication was not designed to be on it for the rest of your life. The manufacturers will tell you it's 3 months or 6 months and that's it. If you can't fix it, then then it's not being used the way it should be. Most of the heart medications and a whole bunch of other medications are really designed to stabilize you and then give you the ability to address the underlying conditions of it. And then now the medication goes away, and now you have addressed it, and that's the real idea. That's our real desire. Especially when we went into, a health practitioner, whether it be a standard doctor or a person like me, or your chiropractor or your physical therapist, which is, yes, I want you to fix me. But I also came in here for you to do, what was it? What happened? What was that? Most people are very curious and they don't really get it figured out. And whether it's the practitioner feels it's too complicated and that they didn't go to school and they can't explain it to them, and they maybe think you're too dumb to understand it, or I don't know what it is. But that's my real skill too, is I'll talk to you till the cows come home, until you go, yeah, I get it. Yeah, it's kind of like my car putting my oil in, or it's kind of like, freezing ice, or it's a practical thing. Your body is something that you can understand every bit of it, because it's just like the outside world. It is the outside world. And it works on basic physics and all kinds of chemistry and stuff like that you understand more of that than you realize, right? So let me take another commercial here, and we'll be back, and hopefully we'll have some calls and we'll get some more questions. Okay.
How long have you been struggling with your health issues? Are you still living in pain? What kind of skin irritations do you have? Eczema, rashes, acne? Is your energy level in the basement? Are you trying to cope with depression or anxiety? Is your tummy always upset? If your body could talk to you, what would it tell you? Well, it does talk to you. It's the listening part that's tricky, but not with the amazing biocommunication technique, QRA, quantum reflex analysis, the highly effective system by which your body can communicate its true needs. Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing in Auburn
Give me a
Hills
question.
is your natural health authority, and he is the
Give me a
expert
question.
using QRA to get to the root of your health issues, then develop the plan to get you back to feeling great again. Find out what's really happening with your body with your in-depth QRA evaluation with Jason Eagle. Call 734-985-5891 for your appointment with Jason at Strategic Healing in Auburn Hills. It'll change your life for the better. Call 734-985-5891 today.
Hey there, this is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority. I'm back. If you want to call in, it's 313-272-5600. If you want to go to my Facebook Live, it's Strategic Healing, and I'm there on Facebook Live. Now we want to talk about, I've had so many years of people, when I'm out and about, they're like, you're a health expert. I've always wondered about this, like my nails. What's going on with my nails? What does it mean when I've got this? And what is it? And, people look at their nails, and we should. In fact, that's one of the things, even a standard medical doctor will look at your nails. They'll look at your eyes, they'll look at your tongue, they'll look at your nails, they'll look at your hair, because these are telltale signs that can tell you. And I don't know about you, but I've seen people out there with some weird looking nails. You see normal nails, and then, you see all these others. So I'm going to go over these are deficiency symptoms for nutritional support for common nail problems. If you ever wondered, I've had people, oh, they do this. What does that mean? They do this. What does this mean? So let's get into it. This is nails, which isn't especially your fingernails. Toenails, it's the same, but it's a little bit different because there's some other issues that are going on with there. So most people are talking about their fingernails. So number one, if your nails are deficient in protein, if you don't have enough protein or you don't digest protein very well, because you can have people that eat a lot of protein, but it doesn't digest very well. How do you know that you're not digesting protein very well? Your nails will be soft, they will tear or peel easily, and they have opaque white lines. They have white lines on it. In particular, they start to thin out. They're soft, meaning you can take your nails and bend them, and they should have some kind of good firmness to them. But if they really just bend right over, or they even start peeling off and flaking off, that means that you're not digesting protein very well. So, because most people are eating protein. So let's talk about how do you digest protein. Number one, having enough hydrochloric acid in the stomach. And so if you're older, that means start taking some of the HCl. If it bothers your stomach, then you do it with the Gastrovent. You can call me and I can give you the directions on how to do that. If you're young enough, if you are in your 20s, you can start adding salt. Make sure that you have a good sea salt. Everybody should get rid of their iodized salt, the junk salt, and just start taking some sea salt. And what that will do is that will provide the chloride so that you can make HCl. If you are in your 40s and 50s, even 30s, it's probably a good idea to start adding some of the HCl. There's another thing. It says we can actually take protease. Protease is we can take digestive enzymes, which is the digest has protease, amylase, lipase, all these different types of anything that says ase. That means that it's an enzyme, and that helps to break things down. So protease breaks down protein, okay? And we can take it as a supplement form. And what you do is if you provide extra protease, then it will help you to break your protein down. And how do you know that it's better? You'll see your nails get better. Okay, if we've got dry, brittle, break easily, horizontal or vertical ridges, okay, but now the one before, they break easily, but this one's, they're dry and they crack and they break off, and like people say, oh, I broke a nail and it just came off in like a chunk and it's still kind of dry. That means we are deficient in calcium. Calcium is everywhere, but we cannot be absorbing calcium very well, and the hydrochloric acid has a lot to do with it. If you don't have enough stomach acid, then what happens is then we don't produce enough hydrochloric acid. There's another thing that we can do actually to help. Let me get back to that, which is this thing can help to produce hydrochloric acid, which is apple cider vinegar. We can take maybe 2 tablespoons throughout the day of apple cider vinegar. A lot of people go, oh gosh, I just hate the taste of it. So it's a capsule, and you can swallow these capsules. If you're trying to lose weight, or if we got intestinal problems, digestion problems, let me go to this one. I know that we had intestinal, I was in here, hold on. Intestinal health. Yeah, so again, taking the apple cider vinegar is something that can, especially at nighttime before we go to bed, that will help to make us produce more hydrochloric acid inside our body. And that is something that will help us. So the acid breaks down calcium. So an acid neutralizes a base. So if we're eating calcium things, that calcium foods, even the dairy and stuff like that, that has lots of calcium in it, but if you don't have enough hydrochloric acid, you're not going to digest it very well. So if we have the dry, brittle, break easily, that's calcium. If we have thin, so now we're talking about nails again. We're talking about nail problems. People go, my nails are weird. What does this mean? If our nails are thin, flat, spoon-shaped, white or yellow nail beds, this is a deficiency in iron. If we don't have enough iron, then we're not going to. In fact, even you can have. A person is born with a particular type of finger shape. You have all different types of finger shapes. But you can notice that as people get older, they really change shape. And a lot of times they are these deficiency symptoms. If you ever notice, the good example is look at Mickey Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke, that actor. If you look at him early in his career, like 9.5 weeks that when he was young and stuff like that. Look at his nails in the movie, and you can see his nails look a certain way. But if you watch him lately, like in what was it, the Iron Man movie, look at his nails. You'll see they're all bubbled up, and they're all like they're weird. They look very, very strange, and they look different. They look completely different, and a lot of times that can also indicate a hypothyroidism. That can indicate some of the problems with especially the really big ones like that. So this iron, if we have the thin, flat, spoon-shaped, then that means we have an iron deficiency. So what's the best way to get iron? Beets. Beets are the best way to get iron, because see, iron, when they fortify, let's say, cereal and stuff like that, you can literally take a magnet and you can put it in, let's say, take a magnet, a good high-powered magnet, and stick it in like a box of cereal. Shake it around, and all of a sudden, you'll pull this magnet, and it's got a bunch of stuff all over it. Like, that means it's magnetized to something, and the most highly magnetized thing is iron, ferric oxide. And so they're just putting essentially metal shavings, inorganic forms of iron, which gets stored in our liver, and our body can't use it very well. It has to turn it into a cellular structure. So if you go back to the old days, they would say eat liver, or they would say eat red meat. That's true. It's very high in iron. Okay. Now, if you don't digest the protein very well, you're not going to get it very well. Now, beets they're a plant-based form. Red beets are a plant-based form of, that's where it gets its red from. It's lots of iron in it. I recommend actually taking the powdered form, which is the fermented beets. That means it's been broken down and it doesn't have any of the sugar in it. It's not super sugary. It's one of the problems with beets is that if you got people that have some sugar problems, meaning they can't eat the carrots or the rice because it's just bothering their sugar, which people are sensitive to that, then the iron is not, the beets has too much sugar. So doing it as I said, a fermented beet. If we have white spots or bands on the nails or the nail bed, white spots or bands, this is a zinc deficiency. We can take zinc as this liquid form. There's these zinc lozenges. I like this liquid zinc that we have. It's called the zinc assay, which is you put it in your mouth, and if it tastes just like water, then you need zinc. And if it starts to taste like a nickel, you still need zinc. But if it tastes like a dirty penny that you sucked on and it tastes horrible, you're good with zinc. You've got enough in your system. So this is an in-office way that we use to test people to see if they have zinc. So then if we have a vitamin E deficiency, you have a yellow nail bed or poor or no growth. You can have people with their hair and their nails in particular do not grow very well, and it's yellow. That's vitamin E. And remember, I talked about the best form of vitamin E is called the delta-tocotrienols. That's deltanol. If we have darkened nail beds, nail beds, when they talk about the nail bed, that's towards where the flesh is, not the tip of your fingernail, but as it's growing out towards where your finger is, where that little moon-shaped thing is. If it's darkened at that area, then that's a vitamin B12 deficiency. When you B12 in meat, you can take, if you are a vegan or a vegetarian, you can, and most vegans and vegetarians if they do it for quite a while, they have to supplement with a B12 and B6 and some other B vitamins, because really they're only available in animal sources. And so they have to, if they want to continue to do that, they're going to have to supplement it with some form. I've got great B vitamins here in my office. If you hear anything that I talk about and you want to contact me, you can go to my website. I sell them online, which is strategichealing.us. You can come into my office, and not only can I test you, but I can test you for how much, and basically say your body says you need this much. Okay, so now let's move on. That was all about nail problems. And again, if you're hearing me on the radio and if you're not recording the radio, you've lost it. If you don't remember, if you didn't write it down, well, I recorded it for you. You can go to my Facebook, and then later I put it on YouTube. My YouTube is Jason Eagle QRA, and that's my channel. And I put all of these on here, and so you can rewind it and go, what did he say? And go back to it. And so you can start doing this for yourself. All right, we had another question here, and that was ones on lymph. a person is talking about having lymph drainage or they have lymph problems. What is the top lymph problems? How do you know that you have lymph problems? Well, most people start to notice it in their legs. You can have it in your arms too, but the top thing is what's called lymphedema. Lymphedema is when you wear socks. How do you notice it? Let's say you wear socks. Let's say you wear, like, say, a knee-high sock, or let's say a calf-high sock. And that elastic band that's on there, when you put socks on, if it leaves an indentation, a mark on you for anything more than a minute, that's lymphedema. It's what's called pitting lymphedema, which is you can literally push your finger, like, say, on a person's calf, or let's say right on the top of their shin. If you push in the muscle right there, not on the bone, but right inside the flesh there, if you push into it and it leaves a dent, and sometimes if you have bad enough lymphedema, it's like you're sinking into the muck. It's like, ooh, that's lymphedema. Well, what is lymphedema? Lymph is a fluid that's in your body. It's not your blood. Lymph can go in and out of your blood, but lymph tissue in particular, lymph is the white blood cells, and lymphatic tissue is, or lymphatic fluid, is the cleaner cells. It's the infection fighting stuff. And then we have what's called these nodes. So when you feel in your throat, these little nodule things here underneath your armpits, in your groin, behind your knee, these are what's called lymph nodes, and those are the processing plants. So what happens is lymph is scavenging throughout your body. It's going, and it has its own highways. It has lymph vessels, which is not being pumped by the blood. It gets pumped by your muscles. So if people don't move enough, or if they're sitting down too much, so people that are sitting in the chair or sitting, truck drivers get this a lot, just because they're sitting on their butt and compressing this stuff, and the lymph gets stuck there. And so when lymph is not moving through, it tends to then, it goes from a liquid form and then it turns into like a jello. So like if you're going to make jello, remember that jello, which is you'd mix up the water and then you put that powder in, and in the very beginning it's still a liquid, but if you let it sit, put it in the refrigerator, now you pull it out, now it's not a liquid anymore, now it's a solid. That's a jello. That's what lymphedema is that you have this jello, this fluid that was normally a liquid, but now because it's not moving very much, now it just, it bogs down. And it literally then starts to push on blood vessels and squeeze everything so that you don't get enough blood flow, which means it doesn't get carried out of there too. It doesn't get pumped out of there. So lymphedema, one of the best things that we can do to pump the lymph is we can do elevation. So lay on the floor. Now, if you're a little feeble and you need someone to help you, be careful. Have someone help you to get up and down from the floor. Or you can actually do it in bed, which is you can lay down in your bed and get your couch cushions. And you want to be laying down so that you look like an L shape, so that your back is flat on the ground or on the bed, and then your legs are high up on a pillow, kind of like an L shape, kind of like, like I say, lay on the floor and put your legs on the back of a couch or the back of a chair. This is what's called super elevation. Gravity will start pulling this stuff out of your body. It will start moving because it's all got to go towards the heart. Now, lymph, one of the things that makes stagnant lymph too is very poor digestion. So again, as I talked about before, which is digesting your food correctly, having enough hydrochloric acid. And so when I have people that have a lot of lymph problems, when we supplement them with the HCl or the apple cider vinegar and get their digestion working better, you'll start to see the lymph go away. There is a special massage that you can get called manual lymph drainage, and there are people that are out there, there are clinics that are out there that will help to, you don't just push on it and just squeeze it. You have to carefully move it out of there because it has to be all directed back into, like moving the cows through the field, If they come through the gate, they all have to be directed towards that gate, and you can't just shove them all through at once. They have to be able to come through, and it has to be moved slowly. So called manual lymph drainage is a specific technique. Lymph also responds to castor oil packs. Castor oil packs are fabulous, which is You can buy an organic castor oil, and then you put it on some cotton flannel, couple 2 to 3 sheets of cotton flannel that you can go to Joann Fabrics and you can buy it. Buy the not the white stuff, not the bleached, but you want to buy the unbleached. Or you can come to my office and I sell an organic unbleached cotton flannel. And you can use this castor oil pack anywhere on the body, but the castor oil packs work really good for lymph, work really good for like a bad knee. Let's say you have a person that twisted their knee and now it's all swollen. But then a lot of times when I have people that have a lot of knee problems, if you push on the knee, you'll see there's a lot of edema in there. And it's literally like a gel. It's like trying to wade through Jello. Like, your legs will feel so heavy and your knees were hurt because they don't bend as easily, right? If it's just all pressurized with this thick fluid. So we can get that lymph out of there by putting castor oil packs on the knee or on the elbow or wherever you tend to have this lymphedema. And it will start to diminish it. It will start to move it out of there, and it's dramatic. Another thing, like say that knee, that lymphedema knee, which is after you do a warm castor oil pack, you can then put ice on it. And ice, what it will do is it will start to compress it and will start to squeeze. So if you put ice on, let's say that knee or on those legs, while they're raised in super elevation, so you're squeezing it with the ice because the ice does a constriction, plus it's, like I said, lay on the floor with your legs on the back of a chair or lay on the bed with your legs up on 4 couch cushions. Then it's going to be in this L shape, and it's the ice is going to squeeze it, but the gravity is going to help to squeeze it down towards your heart and start to get it out of there. There's a number of other ideas to do for lymph, but this is a great start, which is start moving it. If we tend to have the lymphedema in the legs, you can buy what's called TED hoses or the compression socks. I recommend getting the ones that are above the knees, because they'll have ones that come just below the knee, and you'll see people that it squeezes all the stuff right up to the knee and it just stays there. And it just doesn't go, but it's got to go up past the knee. So I recommend, if you do have some swelling in the legs, and especially lymph swelling, getting these compression socks, what's called TED hoses, and the thigh-high ones are the best to do. You want to get them so they're tight, so that they're a bugger to put on. Because as you're putting them on, you're rolling that fluid up. It's kind of like an anaconda or like a boa constrictor, is that it's constricting slowly and keeping constant pressure out, and that's moving the fluid out. You'll notice that there's actually a lot of athletes who use things like this, like a lot of basketball players. They'll use that sleeve thing on their arm or on their legs. They're using compression. And this compression helps to keep the blood flow good, but it also keeps the stagnant blood flow out of it, and keeps the swelling out. So if they're going to be on their legs, playing in an NBA game or something like that, the compression has helped to improve their performance. So they don't have problems. They're using the benefit of this compression that really helps to increase their blood flow, as well as increase their performance. So that's a great thing. All right, let's see. We've got, I'm going to keep going. So if you want to have some more questions, call into the show. It's 313-272-5600. What's the one we're going to talk about now? So let's talk about brain support. Many people, this has been a common thing for people that get old, which is, you don't think about your brain until it starts to go. But I'm talking to people who are young too. I'm doing this particular thing I'm talking about with a girl who is, I think she's like 22 years old, maybe 21, 22. She's at U of M, spectacular student. And she goes, I want to do better. And so can we make even her brain, a young brain that should be tip top, to work even better? Yeah, give me 1 second here. Yes. And that is one of the latest in brain health is what's called BDNF. BDNF, which is these different constituents, nutrient constituents, in terms of how the brain works and how what the brain is made out of. As we age, we start to lose these BDNF levels. But we can take them as a supplement. There's a lot of foods and things like that. And this cognitropic has these BDNF factors. One of the high BDNF factors is the spearmint. Spearmint is, so there's been a lot of research that had been done on all of these different nutraceuticals, and these things that have been staring us right in front of our face have literally been just dramatic in terms of what they do. And we'll go grab this one. This BDNF is the top research in terms of what makes the brain work the way it's supposed to. And so it's this Nutrimix, and we've got a couple different things. It's a spearmint leaf extract, which provides what's called rosmaric acid. Rosmaric acid is one of these top things that helps to produce what's called BDNF. We also have another neurofactor, which is the whole coffee fruit extract. Coffee fruit, meaning the green coffee bean. And this is a whole extract, and what it does is it produces, these are all natural too. So again, people kind of go like, I have to have my coffee, but you have people that don't like coffee. Well, people are going, well, is coffee good? Is coffee bad? Well, the real negative things about coffee is that it's very acid producing. And if you drink a lot of coffee, it can be hard on the kidneys. It acts as a diuretic. And so if you have people that do not, for instance, drink enough water, drink a lot of coffee, but not enough water, they can get very dehydrated. And too much coffee can be harmful for them, right? Whereas the green coffee, whole coffee fruit extract. Now, see, this is not, so when they're talking about coffee, they're taking, so when you find coffee in, let's say, the Amazon or Kenya or wherever it comes, coffee is a tree that makes this bean, and this bean is a red bean that is, when it's on the tree and it's ready to harvest, it becomes red. It looks like a red berry. And then they take them off, they shake them off, and then they break open that red, they throw away that red part, and then we have two beans that are inside of it, and then they're green, and then they roast that, and that's where you get coffee from. Well, what they have found is that the stuff that they throw away, there is so much benefit to that. So using that as a nutraceutical and again, so it works the way that coffee works, which is it helps to increase blood flow. It gives you more energy. It actually sends more blood flow to the brain. It actually sends more nutrients. It directs it to your neurologic system. It goes right to your nerves, but in particular goes to your brain. Okay, so brain support, which is cognitropic, is a fairly new thing. If we take it with the fermented greens, the DHA and the ceravin provides what's also called nervonic acid. The stuff that I've got here, this is when you look into the latest of neurology in terms of nutraceuticals, in terms of, the limitless pill. You get to these guys, these CEOs out there, and they're not doing some of them are doing the drugs and the nutraceuticals or the pharmaceuticals, but they're really going into getting better effects from the nutraceuticals, which is what are the things that are out there in the plant world. And can we use it for, like, again, say you have a high CEO out there, who he's already smart enough, but could he be smarter? Could he be faster? Could he remember your names? Could be quick to the uptake in terms of making the deals? You're just trying to remember some phone numbers. So this stuff is really, really powerful. Okay. The EPA DHA, which is essential fatty acids. Your brain is, when they call it the gray matter, in my career, I've done a lot of cadaver research, meaning I've seen in people's bodies. I've cut people's bodies and gone through donor research and things like that. And so I've held brain in my hand. I've held a kidney in my hand. I've looked at it. I've seen all of these things. And I see what it looks like. And it is. The brain in particular is just, it's jello. And it's this oil. Well, how do you think it gets there? You were born as a baby and mom gave it to you, but then thereafter, you better eat it and you better get it in there. And that's why the things that are called essential fatty acids are essential nutrients, meaning if you don't get it from an outside source, your body will eat yourself to make it. Well, when the brain is starved of these nutrients, the brain just starts to fall apart. And that's one of the things that we see in the Alzheimer's, where it starts to look like Swiss cheese, which is, it's just like these holes. And part of it is because it's just not having enough of the essential fatty acids. We have some chemicals that are blocking that, and the aluminum, get rid of the aluminum pans, those types of things. They do bioaccumulate in the brain. But having the essential fatty acids, the DHA, that is a It's a plant-based one. The EPA DHA, that's a fish oil one. And as I said, as we get older, maybe taking the limonene with it as an insurance measure just to make sure that we can get it in there. Another thing that has a role in neurodegeneration is excitotoxins. Okay, a lot of toxins from our food, a lot of toxins from the plastics, the chemicals, all of these things that are out there. So I highly recommend taking this, what's called Mediclay. It's a bentonite clay. It's you open up these 2 capsules, 1 or 2 capsules, and put it in some water and drink it down with your food, or you can just drink it on yourself. Let's say you have a person who's having indigestion or having heartburn. Rather than going for those tablets that fizz, plop, plop, fizz, fizz, oh, what a relief it is, which is those are just minerals, right? So the Mediclay, you can do the same thing. You can just put it in some water and open up, and you can find that it really helps people with their, let's say, acid indigestion and stuff like that. But it helps to repair the brain from all of the damage, because a lot of the damage is coming from waste products that are just seeping up into the brain. And if we had something in the system to soak that up so it can't get to the brain and actually pull it out of the brain, that's what the Mediclay does. It's super simple, but it's very, very powerful, this bentonite clay. We got one other thing, which is called resveratrol. Resveratrol, which is, again, there was all that research that was done on wine, red wine. If you really want to know what they really figured out, which is what is the best, like, should I drink or should I not drink? And there's some benefits, and they found that it's the alcohol, but they did overwhelmingly found out that cardiovascularly, if you could say what is the best alcohol, or let's say best wine I could drink for my cardiovascular system, it's actually champagne made from Pinot Noir grapes. It's funny. Pinot Noir are the very dark little black red ones, but what they do is they take the skins off because it's a champagne, and so it actually is very clear. But it has these properties in it, and doesn't have a super high level of resveratrol, but it has other factors that help it to really keep you very cardiovascularly strong. But this resveratrol, which is, there's 2 ways to get it. One, you can get it from grape skins, high levels of grape skins, so drink your wine, okay? But the problem is that especially California wine and wines all over the place, California wine in particular, is the most heavily pesticided food on the planet. Grapes and strawberries. So conventionally grown grapes and strawberries, they put the most pesticides on there. And that stuff, if you're using a resveratrol that's made from grape skins, and in particular, a lot of the waste products go into the skins, and they normally throw that stuff out. So the resveratrol that I sell is come from a plant called giant knotweed. And the reason that we do it is there's higher levels in the resveratrol in the red wine, in the red grapes, but there's all these pesticides. And so the giant knotweed, there's no pesticides whatsoever. And so you don't get as high levels of the resveratrol, but that's okay because this resveratrol that we make is fermented, and so it extracts all the resveratrol out of it and puts it in this great form. I had a guy that he came to me from his doctor, and his I think he said AFib or something like that. He was having heart palpitations, and doctor had him on medications, and then he came to see me, and we did some and it got most of the way better. It was probably about 80% better, and he was able to get off the medications, but he'd still have a little click every once in a while. And we finally found our way towards, after probably about a year of going through this, and finally his body said, oh no, we need the resveratrol. He did the resveratrol, and he said it was like a night and day difference. Like, it was like, that was it. That was it. That was the thing that finally fixed my heart. My heart just needed this very specific antioxidant. And why do I say it for brain support? Because it helps to rebuild the brain. It helps to protect the brain from the damage. It helps to repair from the damage. And also, it's like the force shields on the Millennium Falcon. It helps you from getting damage. And there are so many things out there in this world, especially all these toxins, that if they get into our brain, it's like that Minesweeper game. It just explodes the brain and it just destroys it. And so these are a couple great things that we can do for brain support. And we can get into some behaviors and things like that. But you always start with the dietary stuff first, because those are the real underlying factors. And those are the things that behaviorally we can change. If you're not eating it or you're not taking it, you start taking it, you start eating it, and boom, you fix it. Boom, you address the problem. And as I said, is when most people come to me or come to anyone, they are with symptoms. When anyone comes to, let's say a person goes to a plumber, they don't go to you saying, everything's working great and tell me how it works. No, they go, there's a problem. There's a leak here. So, and a good plumber will fix the leak, but a really good plumber will go, you know what? It might be that your pressure's too high. It might be that somebody put the wrong fitting on here, or it might be that this or that, and they'll track it back to the underlying conditions of that. That's what QRA is, quantum reflex analysis. That's what I do, is that go through and we find the underlying cause, because what it really comes down to is if you give the body what it needs, it says, I'll fix myself, and I don't need to fix anything because everything is the way that it's supposed to be. And we live in a world, especially in America, where our nutrients are so poor. Even people that say they feel good, they have no idea how good they can feel. They have no idea. When you start really getting great, grown food, start growing your own food, start getting some just of this great stuff that's grown from the very beginning, the animals that are raised their whole lifetime, on this perfect nutrients. You start eating that and you start feeling stuff that you never thought you would feel before. And this is how the ancestors felt. This is how the ancestors were able to accomplish as much as they did. It was because, we know scientifically, it's because of the nutrients, and in particular, it's the minerals. We took the minerals out of the soil, but if you put the minerals back in the soil, then the plants that you grow them in and the animals that you raise them on have all these minerals, and it's in their meat and it's in their plant material, and you ingest that, boom, it goes into you. And sometimes too, that's where these supplements come in, is because you need so much that you could possibly eat enough of it. So if you take a few capsules of this for a month or so, a couple months, then it's such huge amounts of these very specific nutrients that it fills these holes. And then now you're able to get back to normal, and then maybe be able to get to some higher levels of, I can do more exercise, I can spend more time with my family, we can go on that trip. Sometimes people, it's not even about the money. They have the money to go on the trip, but they just don't have the energy. They don't have the will. They don't even get along with the people because they're too grumpy and they're too sad and they're too in pain. So if you can fix your body, then you could fix your life in terms of, now I could do so much more and be so much happier. And the answer is in the body, and the answer is in this earth. God created this earth, gave us everything that we need. But what we need is the mind and the knowledge to know where it is and know what to do about it. So this is Jason Eagle, your natural health authority. I really look forward to doing these shows and sharing this information with you. And if you want to contact me, the number is 734-985-5891, and schedule your appointment, and we can figure out what's going on with you and put you on the path to an abundant life in 2020 here, which is, can we have the full life and see it for what it really is and have it match up for how I feel and how I really feel myself to be. Because I have a lot of people that are old and go, I really feel 18, but not, inside, but the body doesn't feel like this. And we get the inside to match the body, and then we're in harmony. Yes, this is possible. So give me a call and come on in and go to my website, strategichealing.us. You can see a bunch of information there. Go to my YouTube channel. I've got over 100 and some videos. Even before I was doing these radio shows, I've got a whole bunch of videos that are all about different parts of your body, and you can start doing your research and start figuring out what to do. And I give this information away. And that's what the truth is. And when the truth is that it's free and it's very powerful. So I look forward to seeing you next week, and thank you for sharing this time with me. So till next time, thank you. Bye-bye.
Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing. Jason will help you live a pain-free, high-energy, healthier life.
All right, Jason, I'll see you next week.
Great, thank you.
Yep, have a blessed day.
You too.
Finely tuned and highly personalized program just for you that will get you back to living your best life. Get started today by calling 734-985-5891 to make your appointment, or go online to strategichealing.us. Strategic Healing is located at 2545 North Opdyke Road, Suite 106A in Auburn Hills. Ask the Experts with Jason Eagle of Strategic Healing can be heard every Wednesday at 1 p.m. right here on WRDT, the Word Station.
The materials for informational purposes only and are not intended for use as diagnosis, prevention, or treatment of a health or other problem, or as a substitute for consulting a licensed medical professional. Some concepts presented herein may be theoretical and have little or no scientific substantiation. Users are advised to conduct their own diligence.
AM 56.
Okay, everybody. Thank you again for another week here, YouTube. Hi, Tara. Hi, Shannon. Good to see you guys. And I'll see you next week. Keep sending them in. The more questions that I get, the more that I can answer and have, but I can keep going on and on. So I'll see you guys later. Thank you. Bye-bye.